All right, guys, in this video, we are talking once again about PlayStation 5 performance because today Digital Foundry released their first PS5 versus PC video where they are testing to see how well the PlayStation 5 holds up to a high-end PC. How does it stack up against other graphics cards? And it seems that the PS5 is punching well above its weight, or at the very least, it's performing extremely well when you keep the price point in mind. And that's a really important thing I need everybody to understand when we discuss this, is that what makes this so impressive is how much it would cost you to get a PS5 if you were able to get one. A lot of people are still struggling at the moment, and that struggle may continue into 2021. But either way, you're looking at a $399 price point. That's like the entry price point. Like if you're just looking to spend the least amount of money on a PS5, you can wait and eventually get a digital model for $399. Again, I have to say wait because we all know that it's nearly impossible to get your hands on one right now. But what's interesting about this is it's leaving a lot of people feeling kind of surprised, maybe even some feeling a little bit shocked. It's a far cry from what we heard, back in March, April, and May of this year, where the PS5 was apparently going to struggle and so on and so forth. We've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but this is just another scenario where the PS5 is coming out on top. Not on top of PC per se, because we know that PC, if you want the absolute best experience, that's where you can get it, but you are certainly going to have to pay for that experience. Me personally, I'm a big fan of console gaming, and it is crazy to see that apparently the PlayStation 5 is equivalent to essentially an RTX 2080 graphics card, which is, again, surprising a lot of people because it just goes to show how performant this $500 or $400 console is. Now, when Digital Foundry did this breakdown, one of the interesting things they did bring up was that there were a few areas, surprisingly so, where the PS5 actually seemed to come out on top over PC, but they said it may be a bug there or just an oversight by Ubisoft. They really don't know, but it says here, so far so good. But this is where things get a little trickier. The clutter option usually or actually increases the density of foliage to the point where I found that PlayStation 5's presentation actually exceeds PC's very high maximum with even denser vegetation in my test scene. This is one of the very few settings on PC without an ultra high equivalent, so my guess is that it's a developer oversight. The setting has a very low impact on performance with just a 4% difference between very high and low, although they do look worlds apart, which is something we'll address later. The lack of scalability in the PC version of the game, which is something you wouldn't expect. You would not expect the PS5 version of a multi-platform title to actually offer higher settings in some areas than even the PC. That's kind of crazy when you think about it, but they are kind of looking at what the PS5 is offering, and they're trying to gauge, like, where does this land? How does this stack up against other graphics cards? It says choosing a particular stress point on PlayStation 5, which drops beneath 60 FPS and hits the minimum 1440p resolution. I could run the PC version fixed at 1440p with a close to equivalent settings as possible. And here's where we see the NVIDIA versus AMD divide in action. First of all, RTX 2080 Super is 20% slower than PlayStation 5, dropping to 10% with an RTX 2070 Super. Based on tests with a 2080 Ti, it looks like a 2080 Super or RTX 3060 Ti would be required to match or exceed PlayStation 5's output. However, based on my tests with a Navi-based RX 5700, I'd expect a 5700 XT to get within striking distance of the console's throughput. This assumes a very high clouds preset. Performance does improve if you drop down to high. And so, as you can see here, this is showing just how performant the PS5 actually is. The PlayStation 5 is no joke. It's an absolute beast. If you go over to the comment section on Digital Foundry's video, you will find people leaving tons of comments basically praising the PS5, talking about how they are really surprised or excited to see just how well the PS5 holds up against PC. One of the most upvoted comments, it's a very simple one, but it's an individual saying the PS5 is surprisingly very well performing. Now, again, surprising is the word of the day here. Depending on who you talk to, there are some people who are actually not surprised by this at all. In fact, I've seen a few people in my comment sections. There are other YouTubers, just tech guys that kind of know their stuff really well. And ever since they heard Mark Cerny's deep dive, they were telling you, and they were trying to tell you that, look, this console is more than meets the eye, at least when it comes to the spec sheets. And people are going to be very surprised at what they end up seeing, the performance results they end up seeing. It's not just about the T-flops, it's more than that. And so looking at some of the other comments here, we have another individual saying, for the price, the PS5 is a beast. Again, you can get access to this console that is basically doing the equivalent of an RTX 2080 and running at high settings at 60 FPS, maintaining that stable 60 FPS for $400. I've always said that the digital edition of the PS5 is easily, hands down, without a question, the absolute best deal you can get when it comes to entry into next gen. The Xbox Series S simply does not hold a candle. And if the only thing you have to forfeit is the Blu-ray disc drive. Now, for some people, that is a make or break situation. The same can be said for the Series S as well. But if you're somebody who doesn't care about that, then you are getting, honestly, an insane bang for your buck here. I remember a long time ago, I made a video about the PlayStation 5, calling it basically a 4K 60 FPS beast, right? A $400 4K 60 FPS beast. And I remember that when I made that video, people got all over me, man. They thought I was insane. They're like, there's no way you're going to be able to pay $400 for a console that's going to do, across the board 4K 60 and even offer ray tracing in some games. And here we are. It turns out that I was correct, and I'm not trying to, rub it in or anything or toot my own horn. It's not about that. I'm just saying that that was the general idea I got from Sony, right? That's what they, in my opinion, were clearly trying to convey. And so we just have another situation here where I hate to have to put it this way, but the PS5 is just coming out on top, man. And one of the main reasons it's coming out on top is because of Sony's very smart decision to not constantly talk about power and performance. Apparently, that wasn't always Sony's approach. If you go back to March and you go back to Mark Cerny's deep dive with the PS5, if rumors are to be believed, apparently Sony was planning to talk a lot more in depth about the PS5 in a technical way, but because of the negative reaction that Mark Cerny's talk ended up receiving, they decided to just completely shift away from that and say, you know what, we're just going to let the games do the talking. We're not doing any technical talk. We're not doing any of that. They even actually made a mandate for developers where they are not allowed to come out here and talk about the technical specifications of the PS5. And I think some people are upset about that, people who want to know more about it. But if you think about it, that really worked in Sony's favor, because what it ended up doing is creating this situation where they are, kind of underselling it and over-delivering in the end. And I highly recommend you go watch this entire video from Digital Foundry, or there is a write-up that you can read as well. And it's done very well, and it really just goes to show that the PS5 is an absolute beast, man. For the price to performance, it's just crazy to me that people were really doubting that the PS5 was going to be able to hold its own, and it just was kind of going to be the weakest console or whatever, the weakest link. But in reality, that seems to be the furthest thing from the truth. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Be sure to leave me your thoughts down in the comments below. I will be very interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.